Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Roll call.
Yes, Supervisor Coble,
Here.
Supervisor Wartner,
Here.
Chairperson Friday,
Here.
Supervisor Burton,
Here.
and Supervisor Joy.
Here. I can verify that proper notice was given. May I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we add public comment to the agenda.
Is there a second? No second, motion fails.
I move that we add public comment to the next Peshtigo board meeting.
Is there a second? Motion fails. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So
Second. All those in favor?
moved.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Motion and roll call vote to go into closed session, pursuant to section 17.85, not to leave, for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is involved. The discussion will be with Grant and Eisenhoff, our legal team, regarding the Nickel JCI litigation. Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make the motion.
I guess. And Caleb Opens, can you please do a roll call vote?
Sure. Supervisor Coble,
Yes.
Supervisor Wartner,
Yes.
Chairperson Friday,
Yes.
Supervisor Furton,
Yes.
and Supervisor Joy.
Yes.
All right, so now I ask that all members of the public, including the press, with the exception of Attorney Steinberg, please go across the hall into the classroom or outside. And thank you, Constable Chief, for monitoring that.
Well.
Oh, look at it, suggesting professional audio.
All right, second, I am going to back up on the agenda, to number 7 and state that there was no action that needs to be disclosed arising from the closed session. Once we came back in, everybody kind of dispersed, so I'm just backing up to cover that number. Number 9, announcements. Hiring of office assistant. I am happy to announce that Kathy Brent will be our new office assistant, anticipated to be moved up to the deputy clerk / deputy treasurer. Kept her wage the same as what Lori's was, $21 an hour. Her official start date will be at the first of the year, at the beginning of the year, with intermittent days prior, whatever she's able to give us. And for anybody who doesn't know, she is the current Marinette County clerk. So wealth of knowledge. Letter B, Marinette County unit meeting. I attended that as well as Sarah Joy and General Wartner. There were updates from Sheriff Miller, District Attorney Morrow, Representative Mersaw, Marinette County Highway Commissioner Burmeister. They voted to change from 4 to 3 meetings yearly. And the next meeting will be in the town of Wagner on March 21st at 7 p.m. Any other public comment? Public comment? I'm sorry, any other announcements?
I wanted to, in regard to public comment, I would like to know for all residents present that during the approved agenda item, I did need to add public comment to this meeting. There was not a second. I also made a motion to add public comment to the next board meeting, and there was no second, so both motions failed, but I did make that motion request.
Thank you. So one last comment, or announcement, one last announcement. As you can see, there is no public comments listed on the agenda. After discussing with area municipalities, fielding complaints from town residents, and reviewing information from Wisconsin Towns Association, this was a decision made thoughtfully and purposefully. This town board has a lot of work in front of it, most notably the proposed 2024 budget. Meetings are meant to allow the board to fulfill its responsibilities, authority, power, and duties vested in it. The Attorney General has concluded that a meeting does not require a portion for members of the public to speak or actively participate. While the open meetings law gives members of the public the opportunity to attend and observe the open session portions of meetings, it does not give the public the ability to interrupt or disrupt them. From this point forward, disruptions of any kind will not be tolerated. As stated during last month's meeting, the board does have the ability to suspend the rules under certain circumstances. Moving on, number 10, approval of September 19th, 2023, regular board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve
Can I get a second?
Read through them, I see nothing wrong with them, I'll second the motion.
All those in favor, say aye.
it. Aye.
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 Any opposed? Which is the four-year packet.
And with that, I think you're good.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Reports. Meredith County Board, I don't know, is anybody here from the Meredith County Board?
First thing I'll say is Captain Brad, turned in a letter of retirement today to the Merritt County Board.
Isn't that amazing?
So they're lost, that would actually goes win for sure. There hasn't been any meetings since our last town board meeting. I'll just mention that October 31st, 9 a.m. at public hearing regarding the proposed budget for next year. That's your opportunity to show up and let the county board know what you think. If you want to really dig into the budget on the Merritt County website, the very first item on the top, you can click on that and that'll take you to a bunch of different things you can look at as far as the proposed budget. So it's out there for you to look at. The other thing I'll mention is that at all county board meetings, all county committee meetings, there is an opportunity for public comment. Thank you.
Letter B, fire department.
So my fire department report is on page number 5 in your agenda packet. That one, we did have 11 calls since your last regular town board meeting. Apparatus and equipment, our trucks are in good shape. We have all our ladders will be tested tomorrow morning by a company coming in. That's an annual requirement. Under training, we focused on extrication training. We went out last year, RDR, auto salvage. Thank you to RDR for donating 3 vehicles that allow us to cut apart, rip up, and do whatever we want to. So we did use our hydraulics and our battery operators and our hydraulic tools to destroy those vehicles, basically. Well, we have 3 firefighters have recently completed driver operator training. So now we have 3 new driver operators that are able to run our trucks. And we have 1 firefighter who now got certified as a state fire inspector. So he'll be able to help Rich and I out with fire inspections. Under fire prevention and education, we did conduct our open house on our fire safety day on October 7th. Huge thank you to all of you that came out and visited us and spent some time with us, attended the fire demonstration, saw our equipment. Hopefully you learned a few things fire safety and fire prevention wise. We had an awesome day. It was really neat. And 2 lucky kids got a ride to school in a fire truck, which was their hit. And Peshtigo school, all the classes came out and visited with them, they loved that. The fire commission did meet on September 28th. We had a full attendance from them. And they approved another 2-year reappointment of the assistant chief, Rich Siles, and our 2 captains, Derek Manette and Ryan Cass. So they approved that, those appointments. And then they also recommended approval of the fire department budget for 2024 that we put together. Our current roster is at 21. We had 1 resignation last month. We had 1 firefighter went off of probation. He's now an active firefighter. And as a result of our open house, we got 1 application in the hopper that's pending. I have to do some checks on, so hopefully we'll replenish, the one that we lost there. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Constable, that is on page 6. The curious call for a lost dog happened a couple of times on September 2nd. And then September 19th, follow up on citation on Riverside Drive, no changes at this time. Number 12, treasury report and stuff. I did receive, email communication from the town resident asking that we not have to make Jody read it line by line. We do all have it with us, and can read, so I think that's reasonable. Jody, do you have anything that you feel you need to add, or?
Not to the treasury report.
Okay,
I will, we must talk this week.
okay. So can I get a,
I move to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
thank you,
I'll second.
all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Number 13, approve vouchers and payment of bills.
Okay, so our EKs are 20826 through 20823 for $5,201.58. Check number 22807 and 22835 for $71,798.93. And just to add to that, I had 22836. It was for 18864, and that's for my for fire department.
Can I get a motion to approve vouchers and payment of the bills?
So move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 14, so I assume that everybody completed their, reviews for their departments. Any reviews that we need to, that still need to be completed? All right, I provided this list, Keith Swallow, even though it says his start date is 2015, apparently he's worked for the town since 2007, when he was initially under a temp agency. So any, discussion, recommendations for compensation raises for 2024?
Are you putting the, recommendations to finalize these, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I was gonna finalize it.
Finalize it. I recommend that we pay over $26, I make that a motion, second, sure.
So increasing each to $26.
Are you doing each one separate, or are you doing all?
I don't know, let's do each separate, so in case there's, so there's a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So Jeff started in May. Any recommendation for Jeff?
$21 an hour.
So increasing, Jeff from $20 to $21 an hour, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Paul McLean, RC lead,
My recommendation for the RC unit is, $22. January 1st.
can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Bobby Egner, he remains off on medical leave.
So my recommendation there for him is to move his salary to 19, if he should, be able to come back to the town. Effective January 1st again.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? John, our city attendant.
Okay, John Berg, I'd like to relabel him as recycler center assistant lead and move his salary to 18. Effective January 1st.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And Dennis and Wayne,
Dennis and Wayne, I put them both together and move them to 15. Effective January 1st.
Wayne and Dennis up to 15. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Rebecca, our chief election inspector. The last time that the chief election inspector and the election inspectors had a raise was January 2022. Okay, so moving Rebecca up to 18 and the election inspectors up to 14. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
And just for information on that stuff. There, the approximate cost of the town per year for that is about $87.50. So $109,000 includes bike riding, based on hours they work and stuff,
Okay.
just so a general idea. The only full-time employee we have is Pete.
All right. Number 15, proposed 2024 budget discussion. I know that has changed a multitude of times.
Everybody did have the green, but it worked out in which it is, so the last updated. Well, especially the last page, and now. For 2024 is zeroed out.
And I do want to back up a little bit and state that, you know, when we met for the budget workshop last week, there was discussion about us being what, like 180-some thousand over budget, and that was, a lot of it was mathematical errors. So as we went through and corrected some duplicates that were in there, that took us down, I think, to 50,000 at that point. And then we've been kind of mudding around with it. A couple of things that I do want to share. We talked about the comprehensive plan. So the 20-year comprehensive plan is actually supposed to be done every 10 years. It has not been touched since it was started 18 years ago. City of Peshtigo has already been working with Bay Lakes. They got their finished product, but they have not implemented it. It sounds like that was kind of done over the course of COVID. And they didn't have the public hearings and whatnot, but they have the finished project.
It's not finished yet.
Oh, it's not finished? Okay.
No, I talked to her today.
Okay. But they've been working with Bay Lakes. I called Bay Lakes to find out the question about, do we pay for it up front? Do we pay for it once we get the finished product? And basically they said that we pay as we go. They said that they've been changing how they've been doing it, and not have it be like a really thick binder and really narrowing it down to what is really needed. Which I think is a great idea, rather than having this thick binder that just sits on a shelf and nobody knows about it until you hit that 20-year mark and you're like, oh, we need to update this. So when I told them that we were trying to budget for it, we were trying to ballpark for me. He recommended that we start the process July 1st of next year and then finish it up the first half of 2025. And again, we would pay as we go. He's going to get me more information by the end of the month as far as scope of service and cost and whatnot. But when I told him that we we're looking at budgeting 15,000 for 2024, he said that should be more than enough, was his words, more than enough. So if we need to take anything from there, we potentially could, but otherwise, you know, it would be good that I just threw out the number of 15,000 because what they have on their binder is 15 to 60,000, which is quite a range, quite a range. So,
Can I add to that?
yes.
So I spoke with Tammy over at the city of Peshtigo just this afternoon, and she did say that they've been in process with theirs for a while. They are pretty close to being finished. It's just not officially done yet. But they're ballparking probably 20 for theirs, but they are also doing like an addition to their city hall and stuff like that. So that has to be included into that. Some of those bigger projects that they have. So I think I feel like that's probably in the ballpark when we were talking to Bay Lakes about, that's obviously a huge range, and with the city kind of having a ballpark of what they're doing, that might help.
Yeah, he kind of threw out a number of 25,000 for the full project. So,
He's just gonna update, right? Updating or?
updating it, but it's 18 years old, so.
Right, but I mean, a lot of things are still in
And
play.
condensing it, yeah, yeah, so that's what we're looking at with that. And then Clarence, I think you were gonna check with the emergency rescue squad,
Yeah, it's no official answer back from their board,
okay,
and I'm still reaching out to them, I'm not over the board. President.
and then I do have one question that maybe someone can answer. Under, the animal control, that goes to the Humane Society, correct? The 3,000.
The Menominee Animal Shelter.
Okay. But, so we already paid them 2,000 for this year, so we pay another 1,000 at the end of the year, is that how it goes, or?
Oh, no, this is my first year here.
Right.
I would think so, and different years on the board, they've done it different ways, but I would say if we have $1,000 left, we should take it.
Okay.
Every year.
I just, Clarence, do you know when they typically made that payment, was it usually at the beginning?
I know I made one in the spring.
It bounced all over.
Did it, okay, okay,
And the reason we pay them for that is they take our animals that are taken in by the constable or whatever need to be housed, they take them over there, they don't charge us for them.
yeah,
So the town started that several years ago, giving them that donation, so that's readily available.
yeah. No, I don't
That's the
disagree,
reason it's there.
okay. All right, so as, if Jody, if you wanna go through anything, or if anybody has questions, or how you wanna proceed.
If anybody has any questions.
They forgive me, it's as you mentioned, this is we walked into the third person last meeting, but.
Yep.
Right here, okay, so I know last week we discussed, sort of like the income. Because the number we had was much lower than previous year and projected. Looking at this version, the projected income is much higher, and I was wondering what changed? I'm glad to see that, but I really wondering what changed.
Can you tell me what page you're on?
Page 3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that too.
Yeah, so I think on the original one, we didn't have anything in for the end of the year.
and the current year to date, was much lower.
I
And
think,
we discussed.
Right, because the current year to date on the first one I had was only in August, so now it
Okay,
has gone
okay.
up, this is September.
so we got the September numbers, we went through and
Yeah,
added
but
those on.
yeah, so those are all populated in there now. September 30th.
Perfect, thank you. Now, I know in the past, Friday, we expressed concern over budgeting $20,000 for attorney. And I see this budget includes 10,000. And that's what, about 40 hours of work for the year, so I'm just wondering if that would be sufficient.
And that's based on what we looked back even prior to 2020. And I think our conservative use of the attorney, I think that that is.
There was also, sorry, anyone else also? No, there was a pause. So I was glad to see that other ordinance to this one additional money was added back into the road maintenance budget. I am just wondering kind of the process from last board meeting to this board meeting, how decisions were made as far as where money is pulled from and.
Oh, yeah, they were taking for the next one. It was a matter of playing.
Well, and I know Chair Friday said we, so
Yep,
you know,
no,
like,
it was, we were working on.
who all it entailed.
So initially, I had recommended if we were gonna go up on the 40,000. Culverts, that maybe that needed to come out of the road maintenance. So that was one change we made. Then I think there was further discussion amongst someone else who said that it should go up, so that's how that change got made.
So were there additional conversations between board members?
No,
How many
I
there
conversed with the
Okay.
treasurer, and then she had since gotten recommendations from others.
Yes.
I guess, I'm sorry, I misunderstood the process. I thought we were doing it in an open conversation. Individual input.
Certainly, if you have suggestions, by all means, Jody was just trying to get it as close as possible, so that this wouldn't be hours.
Oh, I'm not
So
criticizing Joe.
So-
No, I know.
so by all means,
So I was lost. I didn't know how this whole process worked, and actually I found out too, it normally goes up on a string, which nobody told me that. So in order for me to get through this, I asked whoever.
Well, and Jody, my apologies to you, because it
No,
was also my understanding that the board, during the board workshop, would be the ones to have to kind of dig in and shift and play with it. And I really want to thank you for all of your time and work on this.
Workshop as well. They should know.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have exact numbers to work with.
No, I thought that I felt unorganized.
so we've got this in front of us, any other thoughts, anything else that you want to?
Well, I think we should explain the capital outlays because we put back. By department and some of it, that even what we can, and hopefully at the end of the year, if I'm left over someplace else. Eventually, we're gonna pay the fire, so we still have to.
I don't want to. 85%, yeah.
No, it's actually, Joey, would you, how did you have a place that, or it was 95,000 now,
95.
from 115 to 95.
Right.
Um,
The 20,000.
right, so.
And that was to cover the air packs.
No, you gotta get all the impacts covered. We have to put at least 75 to 80,000 on the truck in order to make it work for
Mhm.
next year, and then make the last payment next year, correct?
25.
25. So.
Because
75. Split it up while you got. I know you've got a grant application out there for some air packs and what the results are gonna be, successful or unsuccessful. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a 5% share in it. If it's granted. It's gonna be granted. Who's should say the grant. State grant, or is that?
I'm not sure if you're asking me, Daryl, or if I can say anything or what.
Is anybody opposed to Mike interjecting with the town board? Okay,
I was gonna say, if you want to follow problem, procedure, I move that to go out.
No, if
To
there's no
provide.
dissent, then we unanimously say, so then.
Just trying to
we
work
move on.
within your
Yeah.
guidelines, Chair Farley.
Yep, those are the guidelines.
So I just want to, it sounds like Daryl has questions, and I just want to make sure those questions are addressed. So the new truck, we have already paid a down payment of $400,000, and put aside, dedicated another $150,000 this year.
Mhm.
So that's $550.
Right.
We don't have to make another payment until the truck is,
No, we have to allocate money.
we have to allocate, we have to make sure. So the balance right now, the balance remaining is, that's not accounted for yet, not paid or not set aside, is, $185,685.
Right.
So left short of $200,000, but we have to come up with by June of, estimated June of 2025.
I'm sorry, Mike, can you state that number again?
I just looked these up, I just looked at our contracts. So we have to come up with $185,685.
Okay,
Now, that could come down. Yeah, I don't anticipate it going up, it could come down yet. After we meet with the.
Right,
companies
and start talking to the past or what it's all.
We've already signed the contract, it's already in the So the next 2 years, I think, is what the next year and a half roughly is what we've got to play with. So we need to put money in this next year. That's why I requested a certain amount in capital for the truck, and why you're talking about putting some of that aside. And I think we're gonna get pretty close. We can do this the next 2 years.
mhm.
As far as the air packs, did you have a question on those two?
No, I just said that were
It's the grant.
the grant and that is possible grant.
So we did put in for a FEMA grant. The whole project is $150,000. If we receive the grant, that's to replace 10 air packs. If we do receive the grant, we have to come up with a 5% match, which is, somebody help me with the math. No, 175, something like that. So at a minimum, we need to look at that. When I worked with Kayla on the capital improvement committee, we talked about, and I proposed that we look at, in case we don't get the grant, putting in for 3 air packs this year, 3 next year, 3 the following year, at a cost of about $10,000 a piece. So that's where that $30,000 came from. So,
The other thing is, we can't find the other 20 that gets your, or what we have, 150.
I think we asked for 115, if we get, what was it, 95?
95.
You know, we'll do what we can.
Right.
Okay,
Unless there's something shows up here, it's a ton of another.
Well, I do think if there are additional ARPA funds. I do think, because this version, I mean, I think it doesn't pretty much prove it. Including the approximately, that's very good. That would be required for the races. That's the amount, we need to approve it. So I mean, I think that we need more. Yeah, lower the contingency to match. So that's included in the budget.
We could get a better number, at least at figuring it out.
I'm figuring out, general estimate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're never gonna figure out the election exactly.
right. So is there, do we want to state a number that we should go up on that, or?
What's that?
You want me to try and get a closer idea of what it would be?
I think if you plan for approximately. Or if you want to run it, you know what I mean, I think you just account for it in the budget. If you have some numbers. Acceptable in this case.
Right.
Around 18.
Small election, put red law. Don't do anything about it, don't just have a thing.
And that's just it, part of that will go into the elections part. The,
Party, like, party recycling.
Right.
Party administration, all over through.
right,
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Part of the Jimmy budget.
yeah. All right, so then Jody will, divvy those 8,700 amongst those areas. And reduce the contingency by 8,700.
Okay, as you know, we don't approve budget tonight, that's only November.
Everybody gonna get budget summary?
I need, I have the other side.
No, it is, no, good. I'll bring it back. Yeah, that's what we need, budget summary.
Is there any other discussion on the budget itself? Okay.
And then I'll change, some of the numbers and the expenditures will change them in the budget summary to reflect wage.
Right.
And
So then with those changes that we authorized her to make on the wages, I approve the budget summary for publication notice that needs to go in the paper by the end of the month. They will set the dates for that publication with proper notice for the town's meeting, budget meeting, which is the town taxpayer meeting. That'll all be in November 21st. I believe it is.
Correct. All right, can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, Wisconsin Towns Association 2023 Annual Convention attendance. I wasn't sure if anybody wanted to attend that, but I think. Okay. So Daryl Joy
So would I.
and Jimmer. Clarence not. No for Dale? No.
Voted to convention,
What's that?
is that what you're talking?
Yes, yeah,
No.
okay.
Tim's too smart.
No, that has nothing to do with that. I want that.
All right, number 17, Color Road property building permit violations and potential unfit for public human habitation order. So I included in the board packets, information about this, so Tom Smith had presented this order to the president, apparently nothing's come of that. So in talking with Attorney Spangenberg, he recommended that included the email here, with board members. That basically I'm looking for approval to allow Attorney Spangenberg to discuss with Tom Smith and continue this process forward, for this property. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, number 18, PFAS contamination, Friday Earth Exchange. Two residents, were selected for the free PFAS tests. They were selected by Carson Ames of Friday Earth Exchange, residents John Sturdy and April McGlashan. They both live on Shore Drive. They were notified September 28th. That they were told that they would receive the test results, within 2 weeks. And they're responsible for collecting the samples, shipping back to the lab. So they were responsible for the cost of shipping it back. Lab analyzation would take 2 to 3 weeks, with results to Carson Ames of Thriving Earth Exchange, with further dissemination of results to the resident, the town of Peshtigo, and DNR. I heard from the State Laboratory of Hygiene in Madison that they were sending out the kits on October 9th. And April had communicated with me that she received it on October 10th. So we should, be getting those results, I would anticipate, by the next board meeting. Letter B, typo JCI update, that's listed on page 9. Basically, 98 replacement wells have been requested to date. This is in the PWSA area only, where typo has admitted responsibility. They state that there have been additional requests received on a regular basis. 20 replacement wells have been installed, 78 are queued for installation. Bottled water and bullets continue. Construction plan through at least 2024, and they're currently partnering with 14 local contractors. Radiant levels are reduced to approximately an order or magnitude below 1/10 the maximum contaminant level. Other compounds are being filtered to multiple orders of magnitude below the criteria. The treated water is safe to drink, and groundwater monitoring is ongoing. 1 year of individual private well monitoring, results are consistent from quarter to quarter. 4 to 5 deep bedrock monitoring wells throughout the community being monitored under DNR oversight. And the general response is that water pressure has increased within wells.
Do you know, so the gradient levels in the filtration, that would just be with the under the filtration, right? Because the wells.
I don't know what they did for each individual property owner. So that I don't know.
Are they, do you know, are they different things for the property owners?
I know that he's property owner is negotiating their contract, so again, I don't know. And then page 10 is the DNR update. So the email that I received from Alyssa Selwood, JPI Tyco is continuing its investigation of PFAS contamination in and around the FPCs. They have plans to install and sample new monitoring wells in the PWSA in the town of Peshtigo in the coming months. The DNR anticipates receiving a report to document findings and conclusions for this additional investigation in early 2024. Deep wells to date, they confirm the installation of 20 deep drinking wells who have signed on for the deep well. This summer, they JCI Tyco completed 2 new monitoring wells in this deep aquifer and plans to install 2 more deep monitoring wells in the PWSA this fall. JCI Tyco's initial testing results of the new deep wells were as expected. The water did not contain PFAS at levels of concern, but did have elevated levels of radium, strontium, and other water quality that warrant treatment. In a few instances, the new deep wells have had to be retrofit with a special deeper casing to address sulfur issues. And then they also provided an update on the high school irrigation well in June of this year. JCI Tyco installed a new irrigation well at Marinette High School to replace the old irrigation well that was found to have a faulty casing and was drawing PFAS from the shallow aquifer. PFAS were not detected at levels of health concern in samples collected from the new irrigation well. JCI Tyco will continue semi-annual sampling of the irrigation well under an agreement it has with the school district. Letter D, the EPA Superfund petition update. If people remember last year, resident Cindy Boyle in her resident capacity and Jeff Lamont had petitioned EPA to designate this area as a Superfund. In the late 1970s, toxic waste dumps received national attention when the public learned about the risks to health and environment posed by contaminated sites. In response, Congress established a Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act, CERCLA, and that was done in 1980. CERCLA is informally called Superfund, so the terminology goes hand in hand. It allows EPA to clean up contaminated sites and forces the parties responsible for the contamination to either perform cleanups or reimburse the government for EPA-led work. So it was in March of last year that the petition was filed to move our area's PFAS contamination through the Superfund process. So I discussed this with Erica Altz on October 12th, who is the lead from EPA. She said that the process is still ongoing. Once testing is set to begin, EPA will notify the town so that we can notify residents to expect contact from EPA. We will not have any they will not report to us who is going to get tested. It's just an overarching, let you know, they might be contacting you to do some testing. EPA will reach out to property owners directly to perform testing, and they will communicate results with property owners. The town will be notified once a conclusion is reached regarding the Superfund status. So that's the only update I have there. Letter E, the 1.667 million federal grant funds, UW grant writing team update from Supervisor Burton.
As I shared, we have some EPA representative, she believes that PFAS monitoring would potentially be allowed an allowable use of the funds if the town submitted an official amendment to the project. I do have a call with her next week to go over more of the details. And that is just a discussion of options.
Any update on grant opportunities for the matching funds?
Nope, I don't have an update from her to grant writing team, but they're putting together this requirements.
Letter F, long-term permanent drinking water solution for impacted residents. So I reached out to, Strand, and this is in your email, or in your packet, pages 11 and 12. To inquire what, next steps, if we were to move forward with them in helping us determine a long-term drinking water solution. And as you can see, there's a multitude of steps. Revisit alternative analysis, potentially explore new alternatives, plus revisit some assumptions, looking at the wells that have already been in place. So there's a multitude of steps. I was trying to find out like what kind of costs are we looking at? And so I kind of tried to narrow them down to number 2, because I thought those were what we'd be looking at in the short term. So if we were going to continue to pursue for Strand to work with us, updated alternatives analysis engineering report would cost anywhere from $35,000 to $75,000. Stakeholder meetings would be $10,000 to $20,000, and cost of service study $10,000 to $20,000.
So you want to know that these are all included in our 1.667 million costs if we are to secure the pension funds. So these already do qualify as a home.
This would be a time.
Well, it's like it's waiting on us as far as the matching funds, which so it could take some time, but we don't have really a deadline to it. So it's not like if we don't have it set by this date. So there is time.
So I guess I personally don't feel that we're in a position to eat these costs on our own until we know if we're going to get the bid.
I would agree.
All right, so we will just kind of file that, but that's information that we have.
I would be very interested in having a conversation as far as if slash when funding is available, is this a direction the town board is going to pursue? Because I know, and you have said previously in the past year Friday, and we haven't, the rest of the board hasn't shared that you feel that permanent safe drinking water is between individual homeowners and Peshtigo GCI. And this path would be alternative to that. So I guess I think it would be, if we can get any more consensus as far as direction.
So to understand the this new spraying for police cost of that, is that for the water district? Or is
No.
that for something else, an alternative?
So my understanding is that it's just additional information regarding options and like the stakeholder needs input from residents, which I think we can all agree is essential to the process.
So this would not necessarily be the utility district, it would be them basically going back to the drawing board and having the information they already have from the previous and coming up with recommendations, for what could this look like for the town.
No, it's like just covering the PFAS area, the 160 something.
This, so that area is already covered. The PWSA area is already covered. So this
Well-
would cover,
For some people.
so this would. So that area is covered for those who want the deep wells. This would cover for, I mean, this would potentially cover for everybody. I mean, if the town board decides, hey, we're gonna do a utility district and we're gonna force people off their deep wells, then that's.
I think we
what it
all
would be.
know that the utility district is lose some money from what I've read. There's-
Well,
Turn
the
your-
utility district
oh,
doesn't
hold on, just one
necessarily
moment.
force people.
Yeah,
to
just
be
turn
well.
that so that they can hear it too, because I'm even having a hard time hearing you, so I'm assuming.
Usually
everybody
they
else
don't.
is.
So I would love to hear why you feel that the utility district is not an option.
Well, I don't know how you're gonna cover the whole county.
Well, I think there's a lot of room between covering the whole town and incrementally working to provide permanent safe drinking water for people within a defined plume of contamination that impacts it
Well,
well.
I understand that. But, it's clean water, what I'm saying. It's not the only solution to clean water.
Well, and that's what, updated alternatives analysis would do, which I could see as a good thing, but. I don't want to rule, I'm not saying water districts necessarily how we have to go. I just wouldn't want to rule it out without considering all options.
Well, it's not being ruled out right now. I think it's just. How you would pay for it. You have life, you have all the, most things that you have. Rumor has it was $300-400 million in water.
All the numbers are behind the screen, if anyone's interested. I mean, they're old numbers, they've gone up, as we know, everything's.
So, they fund it, how do you maintain it? It's unrealistic. Well, $2 million a year to maintain.
Well,
it,
and
so
one-
roughly.
One thing that's worth noting, because I know for myself, I'm not a PSC commissioner or anything, all of the entities that the Public Service Commission can't say one way or the other, but the DNR, funding sources, et cetera, have not said that it's impossible. Like, it will be a challenge, funding will be a challenge, but none of the experts that have that expertise have said that it's impossible. So, I don't want to rule out any option just because my.
Well, I'm not ruling it out. I'm just looking at this. So,
And I think the main thing or the first thing is, we have to see if we can give them action funds to
Right.
move forward with that, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Because if we can't, the town can't do this on its own.
Right, no.
Yeah, no, I agree. I
So-
think too, previously it was always a step, each step was contingent on, the last, I guess, I'm glad to hear that there is interest in possibly, moving forward, the time they're taking action, because I think it's our responsibility in light of public health.
So
Excuse me, there's conversation going on there, it's a little distracting, so if you wish to have conversation, please take it out into the hall. Thank you. I'm
So-
sorry.
just a question on that 1.67 million, is that to help come up with the cost and stuff for the proposed water district that's supposed to be behind there? And we know what figures are on it, that take those figures, when we can go to a referendum and ask the people. If you go to a referendum and ask the people, you'll know whether you're gonna have a water district or not. If the answer comes back no, there's no sense in pursuing it any further.
Right, but that's still gonna cost, yes.
But is that part of the 1.67 million, there's
Right.
more funds needed to do that?
No, I think if we got the 1.67 million, that would be covered under this process.
Depends what they write in to allow you to spend.
I was gonna say, it's very broad, but as long as it is working towards long-term safe drinking water for residents within our PFAS plume of contamination, it's allowable, but it does hinge on that. Are we working towards permanent safe drinking water for residents, or do we hold the belief that individual residents are on their own to, negotiate? So it hinges on our direction as a board.
And the board can make all the directions they want, if it's gotta go to a referendum, it's gonna be the people that's gonna decide. The board could say, yeah, let's have a water district.
Right.
And the board or the people are gonna say, no, you're not, because we're not paying for it.
Well, there's a lot of work that needs to go before that.
You gotta
The
get fixed.
people, yeah,
You
the
can't do
people
a
need
referendum until you got solid fixed.
all of the data, and that's why we apply for the funding, because we know all of that data isn't free.
So I guess one of the questions I would have is why didn't the previous board, when they had current information, go to the referendum at that point?
So I don't think, like, the cost of like, there's additional dollar figures that are required before referendum. They did not have enough information, because we have to be able to say, like, this is how much it would cost for individual homeowners. Like, we have to have those exact figures. And as we know, like, it's just general infrastructure
But I
costs,
think
not
the
what.
figures they had in there is $1 million a year to maintain that system. And you throw that into the town, that's half of our town budget. We only levy $276,000, so the town taxpayers, we would at least double what their levy is every year, just to pay for the upkeep of the water district.
So what the public
And that's
service,
only for a portion of the town.
so what the Public Service Commission requires, though, is that, like, the cost is, like, the people, the consumers are the ones that bear the cost. Which is why, you know, it needs to be worked out, because that projection is too high of a cost. You know, for Public Service Commission to approve it, for people to take on that additional cost. And it's also not, you know, specific, you can't just take $500,000 divided by 20. Because there are additional considerations, such as, I know, Chair White, you said, like, working people off wells, that's not a requirement. You know, so that has to be figured in, that, okay, maybe not all of those people would connect, you know, so there's
But if
a lot of
this is done for
considerations.
PFAS contamination, then why would you not force them off their wells? And if you have, I mean, we just have to be realistic with this. So if you have a mile long where all these people don't want to come off their wells, and then at the end of that mile, there's one person who wants to be on the utility district, that's not gonna work.
Yes, but that's also why you include engineers, the Public Service Commission, because your general assessment, my general assessment, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter in the scheme of what the actual engineering and cost is. So, I mean, my point is, there's lots of work that needs to be done before we would ever have enough information for our referendum, have enough information. But I think it's great if we are moving forward. I just think it's a really important conversation we have, so I'm happy to have it.
So I guess that's the answer to the people out there asking why we're not doing anything about PFAS contamination.
We're waiting for the funds.
Well, I guess that is a different answer than has been given previously.
I think we talked about what funds.
So I'm not trying to be contrary. The statement has been made, reiterated, that individuals on this board do not feel like it is a town matter. That is a very different statement than the conversation we're having tonight, and I really think this is an important conversation we're having tonight, an important direction.
And when I voiced my opinion, I'm one person on board.
I did say individual.
Four others, right, so I'm just saying, you know, I stand by my opinion. but
Which is also why I
that's
think
my
it's
opinion.
important to have this conversation, and I'm glad, because up until this point, it has been individual voices, and I think it's important that we all discuss openly.
And so again, this will be on every single month, the 1.667 million, as it has been from the start, and everything's contingent on that, so.
I mean, we do have additional options, but yes. we can.
All right, anything further? Okay, 19A, capital improvement plan.
So as I had emailed, the capital improvement plan did not meet. We did not have all of the information to provide any budgetary input. And I don't see us moving forward unless there's additional desire.
So I guess this is your committee, what did you not receive that you needed?
So as we have communicated at previous meetings, the capital improvement plan moved to a shortened goal, so to speak, for just 2024. And as I shared with the clerk and the treasurer, the missing information partly were the air packs. We haven't heard back from a grant from FEMA. I submitted an official federal request, for an update on that, did not receive it. There's nothing anyone can do regarding that. There was an additional piece of information outside of the town's control. There were also, and I have checked in multiple meetings, asked for additional input, and there were comments at last meeting about, oh, we'll just add this to the budget, and that is absolutely within the town's right. The town does not have to work through a capital improvement planning committee. As you know, as we dissolve the finance committee, it does not have to work through a finance committee. So my feeling is, you know, if we are not going to utilize the committee resource, you know, we should not have the UW extension member and residents spin their wheels.
So your recommendation is we dissolve the committee?
I think as I just said, like, I think in the future, I think capital improvement planning is really important. I think including residents in that process in a committee capacity, as well as Carl Green is the UW extension member who is willing to assist the town. You know, I think that could be really valuable. I know in the past, committees would only meet when there was pertinent information. So if the town feels like, yes, let's move forward, we want to collaboratively put together a 5 or 10 year plan, the committee can meet and do that, but until that time, I don't think we need to meet. And I'll let you know if we need to get on the agenda in the future.
I guess I'm still just kind of struggling with this. You know, I didn't change the committee, I left it the way it is, so I'm not one to let's just have a committee just for the sake of having a committee and we'll see if we want to meet. So I mean, if there's no purpose behind it.
So does the town board want to do 5 to 10 year capital improvement planning? Is the big question, because if we do, like, what that will require is continued communication and input from all departments.
And are you saying that you haven't received that communication? I mean, because I haven't done anything with the committee.
Yes, well, and that's part of it, like, you know, I have been the only participating member where in the past, different supervisors who were heads of departments were a part of the committee when their department was the topic of the meeting.
Sure.
I believe I have been the only, board member there since May. And, you know, that is okay, if this is not a direction, that the town board wants to go in, that's really, if you would prefer to dissolve the committee, that is also obviously within your purview. But as it stands right now, I don't think meeting regularly serves the purposes of the town.
So department heads, so recycling center, did you have a meeting with Clarence?
No, Clarence, said he was called into work that day,
Okay,
so he was unable to attend.
and you're on this recycling center, so that is your,
You took me off.
you were at the time. I mean, I just took you off at the last
So,
meeting.
Chair Friday, I'm wondering, I'm sensing a lot of, like, that you're very upset about this.
Well, I'm not, I'm just
Okay,
trying to
I'm
figure out
just-
what to do with this committee. I
I-
don't see having it
So
here
that's
just to.
why I asked, does the town want to do a 5 to 10 year capital improvement plan?
So I guess we'll ask, I mean, is that what it was created for, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
How long has it been? How long?
It just started a few months
In January.
before the election. So it just was kind of getting started with collecting information and direction for the town.
Well, I think it's important that you, plan for your capital investments. Whether it's, I mean, I don't know if it's a monthly type meeting that you gotta have, but you need to know, just like the fire truck, plan ahead of time. If you got something major that you wanna do, it might be a town truck, or whatever, it should be included in the capital outlay, so you know, start planning for it. You can't just, geez, I need one this year, and now we got to come up with 100 or 200,000.
Right.
You know, the places should have a capital.
Mhm.
I mean, it comes and goes. I mean, today you might want this and else, and next month, you might want this place, but you still have to know what is your problem. What do you need?
So is it something that we just use as needed? Like, okay, we've got the roof right now that's already been dealt with. Is it a matter of, oh, you need to replace this, then we throw it to the capital improvement
No,
plan?
the capital plan is more outlooking.
Right. And I thought that's what they were doing, so.
But you gotta have input from your departments and.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, fire department, there's gonna be something between now and 10 years. I can see them not going back.
Well, the fire department does have a very detailed capital improvement.
And they've always
But I
had
do
that.
think there were some beneficial discussions. About capital improvement needs, which I think our budget reflects this year.
No, I think your committee, there's a place for that committee. I don't know that capital improvement is a good word for it. Maybe it's capital outlay projections, the capital improvement. The recycling center in itself, not much got on out there in the next 5 years. Unless the road goes haywire because of spring thaw. What's out there? We got compactors that are leased. We got a yard light and a warming shop. That's what's out there. Now, do we need anything going forward? Yes, and I mentioned that to Kayla when I couldn't make the meeting. I said I would like to put some kind of a shelter up for electronics because they're required to be. They recommend, not required, that you keep them sheltered until they get disposed of. So that's something that can go in. I think with the recycling center that's running in red, there's not a whole lot of stuff they're gonna do at the recycling center. Unless you wanna raise the fees of people bringing stuff in there. Then we'll have Keith going out getting all into the ditches. So we went through that over and over and over.
Well, you can't continue to lose money though.
You know, but you get the $8,300 grant, and it's also a service to the community. That they have a place to take stuff. Some communities take no recycling in at all. It's up to you to go find a place to get rid of your stuff. They take it up to Marinette County, or they wait for a 3-day or a day like they did in Marinette here, or what, a couple months ago.
I think just think
So it's the recycling center, and since we started the recycling center, I don't believe that it's ever made black. And neither has the garbage disposal, which is the other side of the recycling center. We charge $3 a bag, it's a.
Right, but that's not, that's not what the capital outlay, we have capital improvement, it's for bigger items, big ticket items like here.
I understand, but I'm just saying, you're not gonna do capital improvements if you don't have an income to cover.
No, but it's
capital
what you said, basically a wish list.
And that's basically the way the town is operated with, the $276,000 coming in from the taxpayers per year to run the town outside of shared revenues, transportation aids. That's what the town residents pay to operate the town. There is no slush money to operate with. If it wouldn't have been for the grant for the heating, air conditioning stuff coming in here, that wouldn't be updated until the boiler finally, died. Then we'd say, okay, we gotta do something with the boiler. Well, when that opportunity came with the grant, we'll update the heat and air system the same time we update the rest of it, because it fits underneath that grant.
So you're saying we have no large capital improvements or capital. So then there's no sense in really.
Well, and part of this process, and the reason I didn't included Carl Breen is because he is a specialist, actually that presented on this topic, one of the Wisconsin towns, conventions. And he lays out a process of going through this, which includes resident input and transparency throughout the process. Which is also why it was more of a formal committee and plan, because it was working within the UW extension framework of doing this, which is obviously not the requirement as a town.
And in looking through the emails, it was kind of tied to potentially going up on the levy too, right? To try to justify why maybe we need to go up on the levy.
No, I think the conversations and at the committee level or, well, I would that be capital improvement plan, is here are our expenses. How are we going to fund them? You know, and as a part of that, as a municipality, there is always the option of raising a levy. I don't think that that is ever anyone's goal or desire, or like justification, absolutely not. You know, but as a part of that, that is that if you don't want to raise the levy, then you can't have all of these things you may want. Which is just, you know, what you do when you look at the budget. We want all of this, but we have to fit this, you know, it's that same conversation.
I just know when I was going through the emails, I saw where they talked about, you know, this is when you could potentially have a referendum at what election kind of thing, so that's what led me.
Well, oh yeah, it was never, at least to my knowledge, a justification. It's just anytime you talk about options, it's important to understand the full scope of the option. Like, let's say something is going to referendum, it's not as easy as saying, okay, put it on the next election. You know, there's a process and timeline and cost associated.
And was it also in part looking at like the utility district as well? Because some of the timelines, it said that they wanted to have it done by June 30th to tie in with the SDWLP, the water loading program deadline.
I mean, the water utility district was included as a possible like capital improvement for the town. The like criteria that part of the process is defining what constitutes as capital improvement. Is it a dollar amount? Is it how many residents it impacts, etc. And those defining characteristics were not even determined.
So I guess I'll just leave it as is and let me know on the agenda, and if anybody has thoughts moving forward that they feel that this committee could help with, reach out to Supervisor Burton. Fair enough? Sure. CDBG, CD. Just an update, so on October 10th, we had a special meeting during which there were no bids submitted. Initially, we were going to separate the project into the town hall remodel from the HVAC. We learned that we could not do that per the Department of Administration, so they recommended doing a one more attempt with the entire project. So we anticipated not getting any bids, which is exactly what happened. I received notification subsequently that with that second or third failure to get bids, that the DOA has consented to allowing the town to split up the project to include HVAC separate from the remodel. So if a contractor is interested, they are to submit a quote or bid to the town clerk. We met with Mike, is the new MSA contact today. And so if we get something that is reasonable, then we send that through Mike and we can go on with the process. So it's kind of almost like a first come, first serve. If we get one and the next day we get something else that's apples to apples and it's cheaper, then we can look at doing that. But it's just trying to move this process through as quick as possible.
So basically what you're saying is we don't have to go back up the bid process, we can select the contractors on our own.
Yes.
So if we know somebody that'd be interested, we can give them the bid documents, they can put a price in. It's acceptable, we can accept them and vote.
And then we get
And we can split the project between the office remodeling and the HVAC.
right. And it's, so we can get that price and then we submit it to DOA for them to give the final approval that yes, you can move forward with this contractor.
And if the board is given the go ahead, the chairperson and myself, who will review these and move forward if we something that we need. So we get this project going, or it's deadlines. Okay,
So anything,
you know, anybody wants to do some HVAC or remodeling, tell them to come to the town hall.
Yeah.
They said, he said it's Thursday today.
Not before we started this.
and then we can only submit to DOA for reimbursement if it's greater than $25,000, correct?
Correct, so I know, they had asked about that today, and I went through it, we don't have 25,000 yet to submit before the end of the month. We did just receive a payment on 10-4 for $41,351.
Okay.
So yeah, there's really not much to submit,
To submit.
but I will get everything in.
So
What's it?
basically, if, construction does not start by October 31st, which we're pretty certain it won't, then the town is in non-compliance. And what that means is we will not get reimbursed for any of these fees. What fees would be,
Typically, right now, we have just, MSD integrity has slowed down because obviously the engineering portion is done. So right now, it's just mostly MSA fees.
sure. So then once we do get work done on one project or the other, the HVAC or the town hall remodel, anything, then we're back out of non-compliance, so.
We're moving forward on it as fast as we can.
Number 20, Shore Drive, Leaf Road, Bay access update, I'll give that update, and then if there's anything further from buildings and grounds. So I spoke with Aaron, Fairview from DNR yesterday. So last month, we voted to keep the Bay access. And we're going to remove the sign that says park and just say something about Bay access. So if we keep the ramp structure, then it needs to be permitted. Permits have been required since 1933. DNR knows that there are areas without permits, but they don't go out and look for them. However, once it comes across their desk, then they've got their eyes on us. So if we keep the ramp, we would need to get it permitted, and that would require a cost of $603. And a class 1 notice in which the DNR would prepare the notice. And if we needed them to publish it, it would be an additional $130. But they said certainly our town clerk can publish that notice. Aaron stated that we could limit access, but we would need to do some kind of signage or a gate. If we opt to remove the launch pad, then we would need to stabilize the shoreline, which means restoring it to match adjacent properties and place riprap. Regardless, if we leave the ramp, we need to remove the rock that's there because it's currently undersized for that location. I spoke with Nicole Smith today. If we limit access, meaning that it's not going to be considered a boat launch, we may need to still enhance an existing site. She would need to take it back to her work group. She suggested it's fine, the states use at your own risk, and she suggested checking with the insurance company and the town attorney. Now that I remember, that was something I forgot to ask Dave Spangenberg, so I can go back to him. My concern is if that would eliminate any liability should something happen. I checked with the insurance company today, and they basically directed us to go to the town attorney. To see his recommendation would be for verbiage. She did say, Nicole today did say that the DNR would be amenable to the town enhancing an existing site rather than replacing, that ramp, or if we were to sell the property, the DNR would be amenable to us enhancing a site and not needing to create another boat launch. Enhancing a site would be creating a walking path, some brush clearing, picnic tables, putting in a kayak or canoe rack, etc., without creating another boat launch. That kind of thing. So if we're going to keep it, then we need to look at permitting it and removing the rock that's there. And what do we want to do with it? Do we want to limit access Or do we just wanna say use at your own risk if that's authorized by the town attorney, if he feels that that's enough to limit our liability
And do nothing with the boat launch.
and not do it, not
They'll
do anything?
repair it, they'll pull it out,
Right,
does it still have to be permitted?
yes. If we keep the ramp structure, it has to be permitted.
How much to remove the rock? I'm talking probably 603 for the permit. Last one notice, was it $85?
We got $1,000.
$100,000. And we
And
already
then-
voted not to sell property.
Sure.
We've already done. And that's what we should do.
And
Move
so,
the rock, move the permit for it, and leave it set like it is with the rock. We will.
and do you feel good with doing that, not putting any signage? Or we-
Signage up.
So use at your.
Or
own
well,
risk.
or you need to talk to the water attorney first.
Right, and that's what I'm.
Is that what sign this, as we sign up, they're liable to sign it.
Right.
So you might be better off.
Well, on the other side though, we've already talked about the disrepair, so I feel like that's out there in the public, so if something happens, we're gonna be liable for that, you know?
So see what the attorney's got to say about the signage. But that's my recommendation, and I don't know if you need that in a motion, or what do you want to do?
Well, I think we should find out.
What I can do is I can wait to see what he says and then we can bring it back
Oh,
next month.
Bring it back next month. Then it'll be froze up and won't do nothing with it until June of next year.
Mhm. All right, so I'll find out what it's
Maybe
saying.
we'll be able to get out.
They can't get out. So,
All right, so I will find out about the signage and then bring it back next month. Anything else under building and grounds from, Old Board of Detroit?
I,
Recycling center. Old Board of Water?
Recycling centers, no recycling products. Like every month. We're gonna go out and have a talk with, Paul tomorrow. Not charging for brush. I have told him once that he's supposed to start charging for brush, but there was never a board motion not to charge. He said he was told not to charge this year, so I will go there tomorrow and reinforce that fact that he will start charging for brush. We're gonna have to look at what our fees are out there. We now are paying to get the critical electronics. Big time. Cost about $50 to get rid of a large heavy TV, going by the phone. So, I don't know where we wanna go on that. Before the newsletter goes out, we're gonna have to look at the speed. And I haven't sat down with Cody yet to figure out where we are on the garbage side. Picture of the $3 bags, or the breaking even, or the roll-offs. Breaking even, we may have to adjust all those figures. If you wanna get that thing close to a balance.
And I think on the TVs were, didn't you reach out to somewhere, or no, Lori, when Lori was here? He said Pullman charges $50 for TVs, you know, and,
Well, what happened, $5,500, well, more than that, about $7,500, you credit us for steel and stuff. Were all the TVs that came in on the spring cleanup day. That was a pile of TVs. RZR couldn't keep up with bringing the dumpsters and containers out there, told them, I don't know, everybody in the town must have brought 5 TVs out there. So we shouldn't have any more large amounts of TVs for the next 5 years. I don't know where they all came from, but.
and I did see that the EW, GB sustainability, they're having another electronics recycle, I believe it's next week Friday, and this coming the following, from noon to 3 at Marinette High School, was it?
You know who's in charge of that?
I think it's the UW sustainability, I'll see if I can get you contact information.
See, I wanna see where they're getting rid of that stuff.
Because they also said that, on the Facebook page, they said that it was such a big hit last time, they're doing it again. And someone commented about the time, that they wished it was on a weekend, or, you know, and they said they're planning on doing it more frequently. You know, so maybe it's something that we can even partner with them, or I don't know, if they need a site, so yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I'll let you know where, I'll try to get you a contact.
who's paying for it? Who pays that?
I don't know, it's a service.
Yeah, the site, it's like they have it on Facebook and some little brochures and stuff. It basically just says like, I think, yeah, UW Recycling Sustainability Group
Yeah.
or something like that, but you can try to find out for sure.
So we'll try to get you a contact.
I think I got it.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Roads and ditches. The frontage road, University Drive right of way update, Kayla Opens had reached out to Wisconsin DOT, who confirmed that they did purchase and have the title for the frontage road portion, which was then forwarded to Attorney Spangenberg. So I don't know, Jim or Daryl, if either of you have anything to update?
Brief thing and the whole purpose was to do that, to hand it over to, the town doesn't own frontage road. The state does. But we have jurisdiction on it. So if we transfer the jurisdiction over to the city, here's the old issue. We want the town ordinances, UTV traffic, whatever's on currently in there to be in place on it. Sounds like the city's agreeable to that. Same thing with the university portion. To transfer that over as well. They're in agreement, they're just working
On the
the
paperwork.
paperwork to get the lawyers to. Our attorney needs to draw up, so we have the wording that we want, rather than having them draw it up. So. Just wait on these heads meetings. So,
Okay,
it's in progress, but. Takes
Okay.
some time.
all right. I'm just gonna keep it on the agenda next month, just to make sure that we don't lose it. So
Just keep doing it.
I'm on roads and ditches.
You're in front of you.
Yeah, that's right under roads and ditches. You have something else you would like to add?
On no roads, but we did do some ditches and I got a lot of free advertising, so I went to thank everybody that paid for that. We went around the peak, we're cutting, corners with brushes hanging. Hopefully you can't see. On Chalk Road, they noticed the ditch was dry, so they walked it and drove that all the way to Chalk Road. We couldn't get through the last 800 feet. So, I went down my backhoe and I cleaned the brush out. No feet to the town. And now the water was done. It's great. And then turning my animals should be happy because the water should back up this year. So that's it.
Was this in public right of way or?
Private property, but if you go on the DNR website, you can read Kayla. But that's one. Or you can call me.
It's a town ditch. There we go. It's for the town years ago.
I'm just asking, because the town has multiple legal opinions regarding.
Yeah.
Which is on private property, so I was just asking.
State's got it. But that is a drainage that ties into the west. So it was free. So
Now we just have to get the city clean a bit. Or I'll go clean more.
All right, anything else for roads and ditches? Okay. Upcoming meeting, regular monthly board meeting, Tuesday, November 21st. I'm gonna change the time on here to, we're talking about 6:30, because that will be the budget public hearing and town meeting to accept the levy. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's a phone. No.
That will be,
Resident meeting,
right.
no electric meeting. Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Is that?